Welcome to Miles, Menus, and Mystery. Today, those miles lead us into the creativity, imagination, and even pranks of My Dog Skip and good old boy author Willie Morris as we investigate the 662's very own witch's curse. Join us for an episode of special conversation, beginning with Willie's son, photographer and filmmaker Rae Morris, and ending with Chopped champion and owner of Yazoo City's Ubon's Barbecue, Leslie Roark Scott.
My name is Rae Morris. My father was the writer Willie Morris, and he is the author of Good Old Boy.
Where were you born?
I was actually born in Oxford, England.
Okay.
When my father was on the last year of a Rhodes Scholarship.
Very nice.
I like to, when I'm in North Mississippi and people ask me where I was born, I just like to say Oxford.
Yeah, because who knows?
And they get befuddled, they start naming hospitals in Oxford, Mississippi, and I let them...
Just keep naming them.
And then finally I said, no, I was born in England. The legend of the Witch of Yazoo, as my father wrote it, was that, there was this old, ugly, mean woman who lived out in a cabin on the Yazoo River, and everyone hated her. And one day a young boy was going down the river on a raft, and he heard these blood-curdling screams, and he snuck up to the door and looked in and saw these two dead fishermen there. And so he rushed into town and got the sheriff, and they assembled a little posse, and they went out there and they chased her into the swamp, and she got caught in quicksand. And as she was going down, she cursed them and said, "I will return on May the 25th, 1904 and burn down the town."
And the town, that was the day the town burned?
I believe so. It was May of 1904. Wow. So in May of 1904, there was a fire that destroyed most of downtown Yazoo City. And the townspeople rushed to the cemetery. They had dug the witch out of the quicksand and buried her in the cemetery in a plot surrounded by these very strong chain links.
Because that keeps bodies out.
Right. And they rushed out to the cemetery after the fire to find that the chains had been broken. Now, I've talked to people who were in high school with him who said that they grew up, the legend of the witch existed when they were growing up.
Okay.
So the legend of the witch existed before Good Old Boy?
Yeah, oh yes. I mean, Good Old Boy was published in 1971. I grew up before that. My father would tell me about the witch.
Okay. Was the witch used, like the legend of La Llorona, it kind of is used to scare children into behaving and whatnot? Is that what the witch, or is that just town history was the fire and then the witch?
I don't know about that. I mean, in the movie My Dog Skip, young Willie ends up having to spend the night at the witch's grave.
As he does in the book.
Because he says, they say, he has to do that. And
Turn the $8.
In the movie and maybe in the book, the bootleggers use the witch's grave as a place to stash their whiskey.
Yeah.
Of course, that the witch's grave is not, in reality, it's just, a simple plot with 4 posts and broken chains.
Yeah.
They have put up a little monument to the witch, identifying, this as being the witch's grave. Somebody shoved it over a few years ago and it's cracked, it's broken, but they put it back up. Maybe that was the witch.
Maybe it was, yeah, exactly.
So I did grow up with the legend of the witch. And of course the town has latched onto it. It's a big tourist attraction.
Yeah.
They, before she died, dressed up as the witch.
Yeah.
And would meet school children there. And I wanted to interview her for my Yazoo film, and she canceled at the last minute because she couldn't find her witch shoes. And I said, but Bae, I'm not going to show your feet. And she does end up appearing in the film, but not as the witch.
I just love that they embrace it.
Well, I like that she's got to be in character down to the shoes.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, I guess so.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm not sure I would have found a way to use it, but it would have been great to have it.
It would have been. Just show her shoes, that's all.
Yeah. Now, when my father died, suddenly in 1999, we didn't know well, I mean, we knew we were going to bury him in Yazoo City. We didn't know where. And they actually found a plot 13 paces due south of the witch's grave. So Sherry Lucas, who at the time was at the Clarion Ledger, called me and said, I just heard that they found a plot in the old part of the cemetery, and it's 13 paces due south of the witch's grave. And I just said, right on.
Yes.
Exactly.
And she said, can I quote you? And I said, yes.
Absolutely.
So every time we go visit my father's grave, we pay homage to the witch. And you know, he used to love to fool people, visiting people from out of town. And what he would do is he would prepare a little envelope with a note. And you'd get to the cemetery and he would say, well, why don't you go look over here? I need to go check on something. And he would leave this note on the witch's grave. And so you'd walk up and there'd be this envelope, and it would have Lexi and Drew. And you'd open it up and there'd be misspellings. It said, welcome to my grave. And there'd be like a plastic snake or,
exactly.
He'd love to do that.
So that was, as I was reading My Dog Skip, I was going to ask, that book is just full of pranks, and you've obviously alleged, you know, that it was your dad's personality, that like the oatmeal cookies that him and his buddies would make, and then put
laxative in it.
Yes.
and the BBs.
And send it over to the Baptist ladies or whoever.
Yes, exactly.
Well, in good old boy, they sent whiskey to the Baptist ladies.
Oh, yeah.
Was that, growing up, were you not traumatized, but like, was that just a regular occurrence in your house?
It was a regular occurrence. He loved to play tricks.
Yeah.
He had a great radio voice, and he could become a personality.
What made him choose like writing? Like, there's, with that kind of personality or just capability,
Well, he always credited his high school English teacher, Omi Parker, as being the person who really
created the monster.
Gave him the understanding and the discipline of the language. To make him want to write. He would write his books like you would write a term paper in high school. He had little 3x5 index cards with notes on them, and they would be piled up on his desk.
Was he open to the idea of when asked for the rights, like to make a film? Was he open to that, or did he?
I mean, he
is that the dream as an author
Well, then they had made an early version of Good Old Boy. It was called The River Pilots. It was a Disney Channel, or it was a Disney film.
Like a TV.
I can't remember. It was before the Disney Channel. This was like in the 80s.
So that was like,
and it's still around. I mean, if you Google it, you can find
definitely.
it. I don't know if it's streamable anywhere. But when he wrote My Dog Skip, I think was published in the early 90s, 95 maybe. He was open to it. He signed a contract pretty quickly to make a film version of it.
What was, did he have any, like, did he want to be hands-on? Did he was just like, yeah, sure, go for it.
He actually recorded the narration, but they ended up using Harry Connick Jr. Who did it? I think he did a fine job.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I got to see them filming one scene. It was the scene in the woods with the deer. And so when I saw it the first time, I said, that's my scene, that's my scene. And it was fascinating to watch. And I've stayed in touch with Jay Russell, the director. And a side Jay Russell story, you know, he did, was that Ladder 49? And at the end of Ladder 49, either one or a couple of the firefighters die in the fire. And they're having the memorial service, and whoever's leading said, well, you know, this life deserves a round of applause. And everyone stood up and applause, and that came straight from my father's memorial service. From his funeral.
Oh, wow.
After parting ways with Mr. Morris, he put us in touch with Yazoo City resident, teacher, and social worker Gloria-Elayne Owens, who had a special story about Willie's second wife, JoAnn Pritchard Morris. And then there was another teacher that you had in regards to Rae Morris.
That
Tell
was
us about
my
her.
influence. JoAnn Pritchard Morris and Harriet DeSale. When we were in high school, they had a combined history and English class called humanities class.
We did that.
They did that, and they would. I've always been so defiant of stuff that was the traditional stuff.
Yeah.
So they would pick the students who they want to get in there, and I was one of those students. But of course, then before the forced integration, I went to the school prior to the national. Forced integration.
So they're kind of ahead of the curve.
When we had integration in January of 1970, I believe, or 69, one of them, that was the second semester of my 8th grade year when everybody integrated. But I still never got I kept the same thing. You know, they put us in class.
Yeah.
So when they had this humanities class, I was the defiant one, and I learned that, you know, I couldn't be sassy because my mama, you can't sass teachers.
Yeah, no.
But then Miss DeSale and Miss Pritchard Morris were my teacher, English and social studies, and they made that the most interesting year of my life.
Oh, wow.
Because instead of being in the boring classroom, we used to get out and explore and do stuff, and then we had to write about it, you know? So that's why they ended up, and recently, right before COVID, or right during COVID, I was over in the grocery store, and I've always kept in touch with them because Combsy, Mr. Sales' daughter, was in our class too, so they didn't touch. Because Willie Morris, Rae Morris's dad, who ended up marrying Miss Pritchard, he used to come to visit our classroom to do lectures about his book. So all of that stuff was interesting to me. So in my adult life, I wanted to be that kind of teacher that gave kids opportunities.
Interactive.
Right.
So you mentioned that you brought some kids to the field trip to the Witch of Yazoo's grave. Is that how, like, was that a legend you were told as a kid as well? Like, when does that get incorporated in a Yazooian?
Was it in her class, or was it?
It was in our class, and Willie Morris's book. He's written a book about the Witch of Yazoo, and part of his film, My Dog Skip, got the and you know it's a folk tale. And then the witch, the lady who they called the witch was a real lady that lived out. You know, she was just a little hermit living out to herself. But when she died, it was back in 1904 or something, and she promised that she was going to come and burn the town down because of the people who let her, you know, was mean to her because the folk story.
It was a witch hunt.
Had a lot of dead bodies in her house and stuff. Some little bad kids playing and looking through her window and stuff. But anyway, the town did burn in 1904 when she said that.
Yeah.
But then on the witch, that grave got changed around it right now because they said the witch broke in. She
broke out.
Said, y'all better chain me down or I'm going to burn this town down.
After our conversation with Gloria-Elayne, we also had a chance to speak with Main Street hotel owner JoAnn Adams.
We bought a lot of the buildings here on Main Street. We started one of them was in a bankruptcy deal. We started it in 2003, but we didn't, 2006, 2009, I think that's when I bought the one that the hotel rooms are on.
Okay.
We just, you know, we were wanting to invest some money, so we just started buying buildings.
Okay.
And now we own 17 ourselves, and we own one with our son, the old Bank Plus building across the street with our son.
Is that more than you thought you would ever, like, did you see yourself owning that many, or?
No, I really didn't. But once we started, you know, fixing them up, and, you know, it just gets to be part of your life. My husband did all the design of the buildings, and I did the decorating, and I had a friend that helped me some, Jimmy, and you know, we did it.
We were told the color scheme, well, I think you told us yesterday, the color scheme of the rooms and the downtown area here was your idea.
That was my idea. Yeah. I mean, I've always loved bright colors, and I've always really been a happy person.
Yeah.
My motto is to always be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you'll look around, you'll see signs that say
Yeah,
That-
it
and-
gives a coastal vibe. You know, these are colors because we love the beach, and you go down, you see all those pretty houses. That's the kind of energy that Main Street gives. So it's doing a great job.
Each room has its own little personality.
Right.
I mean, they're really all different.
According to local legend, on May 25th, 1904, the Witch of Yazoo City broke out of these curious chain links surrounding her grave and burned down Yazoo City. Writer Willie Morris, classic good old boy, brought national renown to this vengeful woman and her shameful deed.
There's a lot of recurring themes from the novels we've read from Willie Morris, like Skip, like the Witch, like Spit McGee.
Unfortunately, the cemetery closes at 7 tonight when the sun goes down.
So the prank I was planning on playing on you, I cannot do
Guess
after
not.
dark.
Do you have a dog that you can put a skeleton costume on and have him run at me?
Maybe. I actually brought Eve.
Much like the character in his books, Willie Morris was quite the prankster. And adding that with the lore of the witch, one may wonder if the two are connected. But after speaking to many Yazoo residents, we've realized that the lore of the Yazoo witch goes way beyond Willie Morris. After a day of intimate conversation about Willie Morris and Yazoo City, it was time to visit Leslie at Ubon's.
I've done Beat Bobby Flay, I did Chopped, I did Smoked. I'm a smoke master and a grill master. I won Chopped, and so we've just gotten these
Does it seem
opportunities.
surreal?
It very much does. I start talking about it, and I'm like, dude, I sound like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Did this really happen?
Yeah, exactly.
So where we've landed is we're a big part of the international barbecue scene. I've gone and done classes in Australia. I've done TV in Canada. How do you get from Yazoo City, Mississippi there?
Exactly.
In the mid 80s, my dad, his name's Gary Roark, he started marketing our family's barbecue sauce. It was named after my grandfather. My grandfather was Ubon Roark. He was named for the doctor that delivered him, and the doctor that delivered him was named Ulysses Bond, and U.B.O.N. was it. That was it. And so,
How good of a doctor that he was. I'm reading my son. Actually.
Right. I'm gonna sort of name my son.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Roark family just has a long tradition of barbecue, and one of my first memories was my granddad cooking Easter barbecue, and so it's just been part of us. In the 80s, Daddy decided to market the sauce, and in 89, we did our first barbecue contest up in Cleveland, Mississippi, and just kind of joined. I mean, it was sort of a new culture that was kind of starting. We opened this restaurant in 2004.
Okay.
And then
So you guys hit 20 years this year.
yeah,
That's exciting.
This
really
this summer's
exciting.
our 20 years.
That's awesome. So I used to live in Memphis, and they're ketchup based.
Yes.
And
yes.
then I grew up in North Carolina, and we're vinegar based.
Vinegar based.
What is and then Texas is mayo based, right? What's
right.
Mississippi?
So
I don't think I knew you knew that much about barbecue.
Oh yeah, my family loves barbecue. Yeah. Well, and then there's rub, with seasoning stuff. And
so Memphis kind of leans into the dry rub rib.
Yeah.
My dad was actually from Southeast Missouri.
Okay.
And so what we have is a combination, sort of vinegar ketchup based.
I prefer. My dad's gonna be like, no, ketchup's best, but I do like the vinegar
I do
more.
too, yeah.
I like the twang that it adds.
Yeah.
And I feel, but with the ketchup base, I feel like, because I do enjoy spicy.
Right,
You're
right.
easy. It's not easier, but the spice comes out more through that thicker one. But
my dad used to say that barbecue sauce should not hide your food, but enhance it. It should make the meat taste better.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can get kind of gloopy and not do that.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're just kind of a hybrid. We, Daddy he grew up listening to the Cardinals, so we got a little St. Louis flair in there, and but I've kind of been trying to figure out, like, what is Mississippi barbecue?
yeah. So riddle me this, because
When it comes to the witch,
what were you told as a kid? What do you
believe.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, so that is like as much a part of my story as barbecue's part of my story. I mean,
okay, yeah.
You know, I mean, if you think about it, you grow up with that kind of a legend. We visited the cemetery starting in first grade when my first teacher read us Good Old Boy.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, fourth grade, we did My Dog Skip, so we're back there. And, you know, it's just incredible that such a lot of literary work has come from our witch legend.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, who knows which story is the true one?
Yeah.
But we do know for sure that the town burned, and I live in a house that has a little scorch mark on it. You know, my part of the neighborhood is part of the new build after the fire.
Oh, wow.
My house was finished in 1904, so you know, there's bits of it that are definitely true.
Yeah.
Why couldn't all of it be true?
He loved moon pies.
I love that about him.
My grandfather used to like really tear some moon pies up.
Did he really?
He really did.
I didn't know that.
Not Papa G.
Oh, okay. To Willie.
To Willie. Even across the divide of death, friendship remains an echo forever in the heart. Willie Morris.